Presidenta, any opinion on the Nobel Peace Prize being given to Corina Machado?
Last time I said no comment, and I am still saying no comment. And by the way, it is very important to say that Mexico will always defend the self-determination of people, non-invasion, non-interference, and the decision of people to have the government chosen by the people themselves.
The government of Venezuela, well, accuses the government of Donald Trump of being like pirates. Confiscation. Confiscation.
That is why I said it a moment ago. We agree with international treaties, with respect for international treaties, with non-intervention, with the peaceful resolution of conflicts, and Mexico must always ensure that. Firstly, because it is a conviction, and secondly, because it is also in the Constitution of the Republic, and every president or female president of Mexico has to be guided by the foreign policy principles of the Constitution. It is something for which Mexico is an example to the world, and that must always remain our position. There has to be recognition by both countries that there were 5 years of drought. The fact that Mexico did not deliver the waters during the 5-year period was not because Mexico did not want to comply with the treaty, but because there was drought, because there was no water, something as simple as that. And the treaty itself establishes that if it was not delivered in 5 years, it can be delivered in the following 5 years. So that is what is being worked on. How long could it take? Everything also depends on how much rain we have. This year, 2025, there was more rain than in 2024, 2023, and 2022, and that allows us to comply with the treaty in a better way. And there has to be recognition of this situation by both countries, and that is what is on the table. So I hope that today an agreement can already be reached. Working with the State Department on the meeting with President Trump, what I always do is speak well. I always say that Mexicans who live in the United States are hardworking. They are good people. They help the economy of the United States, and there has to be recognition on the part of the government of the United States of the importance of our migrant brothers and sisters there. Also, the number of people who do not have migration papers is already very small compared with the number of Mexicans who live in the United States from different generations. We are working, as I mentioned yesterday, to be able to pay the bonds of many Mexicans who are still detained and who do not have the resources to pay their bond. The national lottery sale that was carried out for that purpose for September is already being used for that, and very soon there will be information on how many bonds will be paid and how many people will be able to have their freedom thanks to that. And working every day to improve assistance, particularly now that they are going through a complex situation.
About the tariff law that has already been approved, and especially about the taxes on Chinese products, some adjustments were made to the original proposal. This was due to the dialogue with the Chinese government. They agreed with these new adjustments. How much is expected to be collected? And whether there would be problems of inflation or a counterattack, so to speak, from that government on its products?
No, that is not directed at China. That is very important. It is directed at countries with which we do not have a trade agreement, because otherwise it would seem that Mexico is placing restrictions on trade. No, simply because of the Mexico Plan, we defined a strategy. What strategy? More is produced in Mexico. So there were several meetings with Mexican businessmen about a first proposal that was made, where the businessmen themselves told us, not only Mexicans but also international companies that are in Mexico, that if too many tariffs were imposed, the price of products in our country would be affected. So it was reduced significantly. There was also communication with South Korea, and there was communication with China. Our ambassador in China was very active in explaining the reasons, and the proposal changed substantially from the original to the one finally approved.
To ask if, to explain to President Xi Jinping, you would look for a call with him directly.
There are working meetings with Comas. We recently suggested that there could be a high-level, formal meeting. Well, all conversations are formal, but a high-level meeting is on different topics. And the idea is that these meetings can take place. Our interest is not to generate conflict with any country in the world, and we have great respect for China and very good relations with them. The reason for these adjustments to the law has to do with strengthening the national economy. So the aim is to continue the dialogue always. Always continue the dialogue.